Now, there's something very interesting about the word matzot, and it has a correspondence to another word in writing. You probably know that the vowels in Hebrew are a late addition to the written language. The old, even Torah scrolls now, have no vowels. They have no markings that indicate the vowels. And those vowels were not added until maybe the 6th or 9th century by a group of people called the Masoretes, because they realized that the people had lived in Babylon for so long that the Torah, although it was read all the time, was being really passed down from generation to generation, and they were afraid that the pronunciation would be lost. So they invented the system of vowel markings, and they also invented the system of cantillation, which is not uniform across the Jewish communities. There are lots of ways of singing the notes, but they give the grammatical pauses the way we would have periods and commas and exclamation points. So if you look in an old scroll, you will just see two words that actually appear exactly the same once the vowels are removed. So we're looking at matzot, and these are the vowels when they're inserted for the word matzot. And then the other vowel points that we have added are mitzvot. And you probably know mitzvot is the plural of mitzvah, which means commandment. So matzot and mitzvot look exactly the same when written without vowels. And I believe there's something hidden for us in this scribal correspondence. So what does unleavened bread mean in the spiritual life of a believer? What is the essence of the holiday? We're going to find all these ideas in it. Unleavened bread represents the cleansing of sin from our lives. We've been freed from bondage to sin, just as the Israelites were freed from bondage to Egypt, but we must take an active part in cleansing ungodly behaviors from our lives. We are not automatically free from sin, and Yahweh really requires that we take an active part in doing that. We are commanded to put the sin out of our lives. In many, 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 many places, the scripture says, "So shalt thou put evil away from among you." In 1 Corinthians 5:7, "Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Messiah, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Yeshua was without sin, and he is our sacrifice. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth." Continuing in Ecclesiastes 11:10, "Therefore remove sorrow from thy heart, and put away evil from thy flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity." Isaiah 1:16, "Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil." This is an injunction upon the people. We're responsible for this activity. 2 Corinthians 7:1, "Having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God." We are responsible for what we know. When we have learned the truth, we need to follow it. James 4:17, "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good, and doeth it not, to him it is sin." We're talking about getting the sin out of our lives. John 9:41, "Yeshua said unto them, If ye were blind, ye should have no sin. But now ye say, We see, therefore your sin remaineth." John 15:22, "If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, but now they have no cloak for their sin." So once we know the truth, we need to walk in the truth. We're talking about removing the sin from our lives. And in order to do that, first we have to recognize what sin is. The Bible gives the definition of sin in 1 John 3:4. "Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law." So once we know what the law is, we can not transgress that, and then we won't sin. The Hebrew word for law is Torah, and Torah specifically means to shoot an arrow or to point in a specific direction. So the Greek word nomos, as it's translated even in the Septuagint, is not a great translation of the idea behind Torah. Torah is God showing you the way to go. He's your God, He loves you, He's giving you good instructions and teachings, and He says, go in this way. This is the way, walk in it. In both the Hebrew and the Greek, the word for sin means to miss the mark. So it's a very clear picture. You are shooting a bow and arrow. If you point it in the right direction, you'll hit the bullseye, you'll be doing Torah. But if you point it in the wrong direction and you miss the target, then you're in sin. And you miss the Torah. To remove sin from our lives, we must follow Torah. Deuteronomy 6:6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. This is scripture that we say every Shabbat, if not every day. It's part of the Shema, and it's talking about the words of Yahweh, the words of Torah. It's interesting, the word for teach diligently does not come from a word for teaching at all, but it comes from the word for teeth and for sharp. And so the picture is that you must really dig in with your teeth. You must chew on these words of Torah and absorb them. Another scripture, Psalm 119:103. How sweet are the words unto my taste, yea, sweeter than honey to my mouth. So the word of Yahweh is sweet to us, but we have to have that idea of milking out the goodness from it, of chewing on it and absorbing it. Job said in chapter 23, verse 12, neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. The commandments are what teach us the way to go, and they should be sweet to us. Following the commandments brings rest. As we milk the goodness out of the mitzvot, out of the commandments, as we chew on Yahweh's word, we will find a reward. Jeremiah 6:16. Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said in Jeremiah's day, we will not walk therein. They were a rebellious people. Yeshua said in Matthew 11:29, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. We are also to be separate from the world. The picture of Yahweh taking us out of the world. 2 Corinthians 6:17. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Revelation 18:4, very strong injunction. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. So again, the picture of being drawn out of the many waters. Torah is what makes us separate. Deuteronomy 14:2. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy God, and Yahweh hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. And again in Deuteronomy 26:17, thou hast avouched Yahweh this day to be thy God. How do we make it so that he is our God? To walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes and his commandments, his mitzvot, and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. And Yahweh hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou should keep all his commandments. Yeshua is the living Torah. So in the teachings of Yeshua, we should not find any discrepancy between what is written in what some people call the Old Testament, in the Tanakh. There should be no discrepancy between that Torah and whatever Yeshua taught. He taught, if you love me, keep my commandments. John 1:14. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 6:48, Yeshua said, I am that bread of life. He is the sinless matzah of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I give for the life of the world. So we are to chew on this, chew on the mitzvot, chew on who Yeshua is and who he is specifically to us, and milk out that sweetness, draw out the goodness. We will be drawn out of the world to be a holy and separate people, and that's how we get the sin out of our lives. I'm sure there are other ideas that you can relate and think of that teach you from the related roots about what is the meaning of Chag HaMatzot, of unleavened bread. So in the meantime, tasim et ha'inayim al hashamayim, keep your eyes on the sky, your redemption draweth nigh. Shalom.